Folks, part 2 of my Fluval 2.6 gallon spec rebuild. In part 1, I drained the tank, cleaned the tank using diluted solutions of hydrogen peroxide and vinegar. I used toothbrushes, bristle brushes, sponges, and algae scrapers. Got everything looking nice and clean. The dirty part is over. Now I can show you the final build on the tank. Now to the fun stuff, the dandy part 2 coming up. It's always just dandy when you can start a new aquarium build with a nice new clean tank. And for this rebuild, I'm going to be using a combination of 2 different aquarium substrates. Brightwell Aquatics FlorinVolcanit Rio Escuro F. It's a mouthful to say, but it is great substrate. And I'm going to be using Seachem's Flourite Black. I'm going with about a 70 to 30 mixture, 30% Flourite Black, 70% FlorinVolcanit. And you can see the FlorinVolcanit's consistency. They're fine particles, nicely rounded, about the size of a small pebble, but it is loaded with great stuff for your plants. It is a fired volcanic ash-based substrate. Comes in a nice resealable bag. Now, while the FlorinVolcanit substrate does not need a lot of rinsing, the Flourite Black from Seachem does. And for that, I'm going to use cheesecloth and a strainer to clean this up. There's some smaller pieces in the Flourite Black, and I want to make sure that I don't lose any of that. So I'm going to take my cheesecloth, I'm going to cut it up and put it around my strainer, clip it down, and put it over a bucket. You can see the consistency of the Seachem Flourite Black. There's a lot more smaller particles in the Flourite Black, and I don't want to lose those into the water, so a cheesecloth makes a great tool if you're working with very, very fine particled substrates. So in goes the Flourite Black. And I've used this substrate in tanks before. It is a dusty substrate, and it takes several washings to get this nice and clean. Of course, you can just put it right into your tank, and your filters eventually will clear up the water. But to expedite things, if you will, it's a lot easier, at least for me at this point, to just clean it ahead of time so I don't have to deal with extra cloudy water. Now, the combination of the cheesecloth and the strainer worked fantastic, and I did have to wash this substrate about 6 or 7 times until I got the water clarity that I wanted. Now you'll see here, this is the first wash, and you'll see what the water looks like, nice and black, and I didn't want this going into my tank right off the bat. So with a little bit of cleaning, here is the final result. Now I've got the water nice, clean, and clear, and it's time to go upstairs, start putting the tank together. The spec's getting a change of scenery, moving from my office desk over to a bookshelf. Have all my materials laid out in front of me, the FlorinVolcanit substrate, the washed Seachem Flourite Black substrate, my Dragonstone, the Sarayu package I purchased from Aquarium Co-Op, good folks there. Have some Flourish tabs laid out, and I thought I might want to put some driftwood into this build, so just in case, I had already boiled some driftwood extra pieces that I had floating around and had it soaking for a couple days in dechlorinated water. I didn't end up using any driftwood in this build. As soon as the Sarayu stone went in, I knew it was just going to be a Sarayu stone and planted build. Now, typically in my aquariums, I use an extra packet of biomedia and I take the carbon out of my filter systems. But for this build with new substrate, I know it's going to get cloudy. I'm going to use carbon for a couple days to help clear everything up. So I have some Fluval Edge carbon packets. I couldn't find the spec at my local fish store, the spec packets, but the Fluval Edge packets will fit just fine and work great to clear up this FlorinVolcanit substrate going in. In goes the FlorinVolcanit, about 1.5 inches, and that's going to be my first layer of substrate. And I'm going to cap that with the Seachem Flourite Black. Now, this cap isn't going to last too long. I know over time this substrate's going to mix together. That's just fine with me. And I wanted to give a little extra boost to the plants that are going to be going in this tank, so I used some Seachem Flourish tabs. Now, I recently did a video on the difference between Flourish tabs and API root tabs. Flourish tabs provide a nice comprehensive blend of nutrients, and this will help give my plants a little bit of a boost as the roots are setting into the tank. Now, don't get me wrong, the Flourite Black and FlorinVolcanit substrates are loaded with great nutrients for my plants, but I thought a little extra boost wouldn't hurt anyway, and I used a couple root tabs here just to provide an extra boost. Now I expect the nutritional content in both substrates to last about 2 to 3 years, maybe longer, but I will supplement with root tabs when needed. Now I unwrapped my Dragonstone and started to fiddle around with it in the tank, trying to find the right positioning for each piece. And this particular design struck me. I did move the stones around just a little bit more. But all in all, with these two larger stones, I like that look and let that settle in after a little bit more fiddling. Now once that was in, I did find something. I do not take credit for this idea. I found this at my local fish store. They had a piece of lava rock, and sitting on that lava rock was some Java moss and some Anubias nana. I thought it looked really cool, and although it might not look exactly like the Dragonstone, it's going to go in anyway. One of those impulse buys, I just had to have it. So I decided to set that into the tank. Pretty nice looking, cool idea. And there it is in the back of the tank. Now, of course, with that lava rock, you can always super glue or Gorilla Glue Java moss onto that lava rock, and you can super glue that Anubias nana on top of it, so you can do your own DIY version. And there it is, folks, step 1 of this new Fluval 2.6 gallon spec setup. Now I do have a plan for the plants I'm going to be putting into the tank. There's a reason that that stone is in the back right corner of the tank. And of course I will share an update with you as I continue to work on this build. Once I had everything set just the way I wanted to, it was time to fill the tank up, and for smaller tanks I love using measuring cups to pour the water into so I don't disturb the substrate. So that's it, folks. Took you through the dirty part 1, broke down the tank and cleaned it, and went through the fun and dandy part 2, getting the new tank set up. Hope this might give you some ideas for your next tank build. And you can see the cloudiness. This is why I use the carbon packets. That'll clear up in a day or two. Folks, please like, comment, and subscribe for future content. Thank you for watching.